You are listening to the Goodnet Effect, Echoes of Inspiration, a podcast by Goodnet, a part of the Arison Group.
In today's episode of the Goodnet Effect, Echoes of Inspiration, recorded here at the Arison Group's Essence of Life Radio, we are thrilled to welcome Yossi Ghinsberg, adventurer, author, humanitarian, whose story of resilience and survival has captivated the world. Yossi, your incredible journey, surviving 3 weeks alone in the Amazon jungle, has really captivated audiences and readers. You had a book before the movie. It was brought to life in a film called The Jungle, starring Daniel Radcliffe, which has been a very popular film. And beyond your survival story, we'd love to hear about your journey as a philosopher of life, a connector of people, and a firm believer in the power of unconventional thinking and transformative experiences. We're so excited to hear about your unique perspective on resilience, growth, and on the unexpected paths that life can take us on. So Goodnet, I'll tell you a little bit about it. Goodnet is an online good news magazine. It was founded by businesswoman and philanthropist Sherry Arison, and our aim is to bring positivity and inspirational stories to our community and our readers. I know that our readers are interested in things that can help them grow and in things that can help them develop their character. And I know that your story and the things that you've learned will resonate so deeply with them. So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, Yossi. And I know that you've told your story in many different venues and forums. But for people in our audience who do not know your story, if you could just give us the elevator pitch and not your life story, the story of what happened to you in the jungle.
Okay, so let's start with the story itself. The story is an amazing story. I can say it because I didn't write the story. I wrote what happened. There's a big difference. Mm-hmm. I didn't make up the story. If I could, I would have made many stories like that and be a serial author of many bestsellers. But no, I have one book about my adventure, and it's a true story. It's a harrowing story. But it started with naivete. I was a young adolescent that read a lot of books. I was bored at school, but fascinated by the world of books, and obsessed every day. I think I went to the public library every single day to exchange a book. And I read everything that I could put my hands on. And through the years, I read many adventure and exploration books, and I had this effect of the books on me that every time I read a book, I felt I'm actually drawn into the world of the book, and I became one more character. Mm-hmm. So I could imagine myself. I had very vivid and very powerful imagination that would allow me to actually cast myself to different places and, really experience through this just hallucination. So book would inspire the hallucination, and all this was like very powerful experience. And I started getting that notion that it's not enough for me to just read about heroes in books, that I actually want to be a hero worthy of a book myself. Mm-hmm. And so I started preparing myself for the time that I'll be able to be a great explorer myself. Mm-hmm, and I trained in the desert, and, I had all kind of always crazy ideas.
You're very young.
Yeah, very young. I'm talking 14, 15, this age. When I was drafted to the army, still I was obsessed, but the obsession took a different form because I've decided by then what would be my first adventure. Okay. And this decision came mainly by 2 books that I've read. One is called The Journals of Fawcett, and it was an English cartographer and colonel that was fascinated with El Dorado, with the lost city of in the Inca.
That's an amazing story. That's an amazing story.
It was recently made as a movie as well. And the other book was Papillon. And, Papillon is an amazing story about a prisoner in the Devil Island and about the human spirit that no matter what doesn't break. But there's an exotic part to it. When he finally escapes the Devil Island, he's actually washed to the shores of Venezuela, and he runs into the jungles, and he's taken by a tribe. And this tribe adopts him, and he becomes part of the tribe. And I was fascinated. And I've decided that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to this, my first exploration will be the Amazon. And I'm going to do what Papillon did and Richelieu did. I'm going to find the tribe in the uncharted, and I'm going to actually be adopted by the tribe, and I'll be one of them, and I'll be trained by them, and I'll live with them, and then I'll fall in love, and and I'll get married into the tribe, and and this was.
I'm only smiling and laughing because I know the story. Our readers don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's right. So, was very naive. And what you have to know that my drive for adventure was always romance. Mm-hmm. So I'm not like an achiever adventurer. Like I don't have to cross a certain, like the desert that nobody crossed, or climb a mountain and conquer the mountain. For me, it's the romance of adventure. So a tribe of indigenous people, the rituals, living with them, and the idea of finding maybe a treasure. All this romance that is associated with an adventure. That's what attracted and still attracts me.
So how did it happen? How did you find yourself there?
Well, the first opportunity I had, which basically after 3 years of military service, I took off to the world. And, I have a lot to say, and a lot of my teaching come from understanding the journey of a dreamer, which is also the journey of a hero, in a way, the hero's journey. I have my own insights about what does it mean to follow a dream. And for example, I'll throw one in now. And actually it's a very good tip for anybody that wants to achieve a dream.
Okay. And everybody has a dream.
Everybody has a dream. But some dreamers, they don't want to follow the dream. They just want to dream. They want to stay in the comfort zone, and that's called escapism. A lot of people dream as escapism. Some people dream as a blueprint of the future. And that's the dream. Now I know what I'm going to do. You have to dream the future forward. Otherwise, the future doesn't occur unless somebody dreams it. Nothing happens unless somebody dreams it first.
So I have a quote from you. You're reminding me of yourself. But here, I have identified myself as a dreamer fool, just like the knight in the legend. If you are just a dreamer without being a fool, you will never leave home and risk losing everything, your assets, your ideals, your image. And what if it is all in vain and there is nothing to find? Only the fool can take such a risk. I was that fool, and for the dream was bigger than everything I risked. I've lost it all time and again, and through those experiences I have found what I truly own. For all that can be taken from me is not mine to begin with. I have found home now, and there is no longer a need to search. That's extremely beautiful, but it's you have to take a chance on your dream. You're saying it's not going to happen by itself.
That's right.
Yeah.
You have to risk it. You have to risk it. And I want to add an insight. This is really beautiful. The insight that I have is, like the notion, many dreamers have a notion that because they're bright-eyed dreamers, and they're passionate, and they're driven, and they go after the dream, then there's an expectation. The expectation is that notion that if you follow your dream, the entire universe is going to conspire in assisting you to fulfill your dream.
All right, take me back to the jungle, Yossi.
Yeah.
My people that are listening right now, and maybe they didn't see the movie, maybe they didn't read your book. How did you get to the jungle, and what happened to you when you got there?
Finally, I traveled, I worked on my way, and I made it to South America. I searched for my tribe. I searched for my uncharted. Uncharted is a literary expression. It's very hard to find uncharted.
Well, they're not charted.
It's very hard to find it.
They don't want to be found, if I understand correctly, also.
So finally, after a year on the road in South America, going all the way from the north down the continent, Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, it was finally in Bolivia where my adventure began.
Okay.
On the road, I met one guy, then another guy, as you do. I traveled alone, but you make friends on the road. So there's this Swiss guy that we met on the border of Peru and Bolivia. Was a really beautiful man. Marcus, a Swiss school teacher on a sabbatical. And then I met Carl in the street. He introduced himself as an Austrian geologist, and he told me about the Madidi, which is that uncharted part of the Bolivian Amazon. It wasn't explored, and he told me about this tribe in the Madidi and the gold in the river, all, everything that I dreamt of, this man presented to me.
Yeah.
And then I met Kevin. Kevin was this, the most, famous at the time, amongst the traveler. He was well known because he was like this American giant, nature man, and a photographer, and so I met all these characters, and somehow we formed that foursome where Carl lured us to follow him into the jungle, each for a different reason. I wanted my childhood dream, but I was actually searching for myself. I wanted my rite of passage. Kevin wanted an image that will bring him into the National Geographic, but in fact he didn't want to go home because he didn't feel home. Only on the road he felt at home. And Marcus, I don't know what he wanted. He was heartbroken. Maybe he looked for some solace for his tortured soul. Anyway, the four of us ventured into the great Amazon. We flew as far as we can fly. When we started walking, after 4 days of walking, we came to the last little settlement, and then the uncharted.
Okay.
And so, since it's an elevator pitch,
it's an elevator pitch.
Got stuck. I'll
Give
be
them
very,
a teaser.
very
They're
brief.
gonna watch
teaser.
the movie as soon as the podcast is over. But yeah.
So the first 3 weeks in the uncharted, we were the four of us. It didn't go as planned. It took much more time to get to the area where Carl was supposed to introduce us to this tribe. We never made it. In the interim, physically, the confrontation was, the rainforest on the verge of a rainy season. There was pressure on the group internally, just to be in that pressure cooker of a living Amazon. Tremendous, knowing that you left civilization behind, some notion of wilderness is awakened in you. And so all this was new. And Marcus didn't adapt. Kevin and Carl were kind of sussing each other because Kevin was like this giant strongman, while Carl was the leader, so there was tension between them. And after 3 weeks, we couldn't continue anymore because Marcus was too weak. We ran out of supplies, and we decided to make our way back. We're disillusioned and upset.
Dream over. Okay.
So we'll just walk back. On the way back, we crossed a big river, and that gave Kevin the idea, why walk now for 3 weeks back? Let's take the river and evacuate through the water. And he was excited and kind of rekindled the spirit of the group. And we built that raft, and now we're shooting the river down.
Yes.
It was much more dangerous.
Yes.
And we couldn't control the raft. At that stage, Carl and Kevin had the big explosion.
Yeah.
Kevin was a raftsman. Carl couldn't even swim. So basically, Kevin took over the leadership. Carl was so hurt that he basically quit and said, you want to survive, you leave the raft, and we go back into the forest. Kevin refused to go back with him, and it split the group.
Okay.
Marcus went with Carl.
And you continued with Kevin.
With Kevin.
Correct.
We didn't know what happened with them because they just left upstream and disappeared into the jungle. Kevin and I stayed with the raft.
Okay.
3 hours later, we were sucked into a canyon. We had a huge crash on a huge black rock in the canyon. The raft exploded on the rock, and we lost each other in the stream.
Wow.
20 minutes later, the river spat me unhurt, which was absolutely a miracle.
There's a lot of miracles in your story. Many miracles.
Yeah. And after that, I found myself on the bank. Initially, I was sure Kevin will reconnect with me, but I didn't know if he's alive even, but I was just aspiring. After 4 days, I knew I'm alone. It dawned on me that I'm alone. Now it was rainy season. I had nothing basically. And
that was really one of my questions. What went through your mind when you had that first realization that you're really by yourself? What happened to you emotionally?
I broke down. This was like the dark night of my soul. After 4 days with hope. Hope is very dangerous. I had this hope that Kevin will show up, but he didn't. So I realized, that's it. Kevin will not come. I'm alone in these circumstances. And I knew that I can't deal with all that. I don't have what it takes.
Why didn't you just give up? Why didn't you just...
That's actually what saved me. It wasn't simple to give up. What do? Jump off a cliff, throw yourself in the river, basically commit suicide. And it's against it's against nature, even no matter how, destroyed, shattered, broken, crushed, still to throw myself off the cliff wasn't even a consideration. So I cried and I felt really sorry for myself, and I felt like a terrible victim of very cruel circumstances, but still I was alive. Not in good condition. I was hurt. I had no food with me, but I was alive.
Yeah.
So on the 5th day, I decided I have no choice. I cannot just stay here on the cliff and cry. I got up on my feet and I started walking down river. And then my awakening began, when I finally took responsibility, and I said, I'm just walk down river. That's the only thing that I can do. There's nothing else I could do, just keep the river as my only guide.
Wow.
And I started walking. And I spent 3 weeks in the jungle alone. I encountered...
I know, in the elevator pitch, you cannot tell me about the fire ants and the sea turtle and the love and the trout. You can't tell me everything.
No, there's a lot. But eventually, I'm here, so that's the spoiler.
The spoiler is that you lived.
Yeah.
So I think the word that comes to mind from such an experience is resilience. And I know there's so many people in the world today who are facing so many challenges and things that seem impossible for them. In the same sense as I can't get up and I can't walk and I can't do this by myself. Translate that to their regular lives. I cannot get up in the morning. I'm too depressed. I have too much anxiety. There's so much of that in the world. And one of the most important qualities that a person can develop is resilience. What's your advice to our Goodnet community on how they can try to grow that for themselves? Where does that come from?
It's a good question, and because it doesn't have a straightforward answer, I'll explain to you my take on that. You have to discern, like the hardest the circumstances are, the easier it gets.
To be resilient.
Yeah.
Because there's no other choice.
No, because it's natural. Survival is a natural faculty.
Okay.
It's a very strong survival mechanism. And what that survival mechanism does when it's activated is deal with adversity. We are actually programmed to deal with adversity. So we get into peak performance when we meet adversity.
That's very
That's why I say to be a hero in extreme circumstances is much easier than to be a hero in mundane environment. The day-to-day heroes are greater than the extreme heroes. Because the extremity by itself draws the heroism from you because it's natural.
Okay, so how do we inspire our day-to-day heroes? Someone's having a hard time in their life. They're feeling overwhelmed. How do they find this or find their way?
I'll tell you my take on it. But first of all, I just want to keep one more minute with that thread. So when the circumstances are really, really tough, it's actually easy. It's counterintuitive. But it's easy because it's a mechanism. The body exerts all the hormones and all the faculties, be it like the mental, the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual. All the faculties are energized. And you are actually in a peak performance. In that peak performance, in a strange way, you also feel good because well-being is part of being able to deal with the circumstances. So you actually feel good, and that's because of endorphin and dopamine and serotonin and noradrenaline. Your body gets all the drugs to enhance its performance. it's not sustainable. It's good for peak performance when you need it for a short burst of energy, when in peak circumstances, when life is in danger.
I think we've all had it. I mean, myself as a mother, when your child needs to go to the emergency room, you function very, very well, and then afterwards you fall apart.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've all had it, but you're right. It's not sustainable on a regular day-to-day level. Yeah.
Okay. So where is the problem of day-to-day? The problem of day-to-day is that being human, we have a faculty that is called mind, which can imagine things.
Okay.
So, when you're in nature, you perceive danger through the senses.
Okay.
Okay. So you'll see danger, or you'll hear danger, or you smell danger. Like imagine an animal. An animal has very alert senses to feel if there's any danger. If there is a danger, the animal is getting into a survival mode, runs or fight, as you know, fight or flight. But what happens when we are not in nature? We are, we build ourselves cities, we feel protected. So the sense of danger is not perceived through the senses. It's perceived only through the mind.
Okay.
So for us, danger is day-to-day problems. That's what gives a signal of danger to the system. Our system receiving that false, because it's coming from the imagination, not from the senses.
Or from your mindset or your reaction.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
The body doesn't know to discern, because that parasympathetic, sympathetic, the survival mechanism is very primitive. So it gets the signal from the mind that there's danger and activates the survival mechanism. So now we should be in peak performance, because this is the best. When the survival mechanism is awakened, we are at our very best.
But
however,
we're more defensive and anxious and fearful.
There's nothing going on. There's discrepancy, because in the environment doesn't present any danger. It's just the mind presents danger. And that's what's so dangerous about dealing with our day-to-day problem. We're dealing them as if they were life-endangering problems, and that's how actually this is like the precursor for all disease and for all breakdowns. Being skin or mind, we break down because of this pressure of day-to-day life, which is not real life risk, but just the bank or the worries on or the relationship or whatever it is. So we have to actually learn how to diffuse false alarms.
Can you train your mind?
Yes.
So what are some of the ways that you can recommend to people to do that?
Two major ways to do it. And this needs a bit, it's very straightforward. It's very simple. It's very effective. Anybody that listens and will try it, with no doubt, will immediately feel the effect of it. Okay. And it's very simple, easy to understand. So what I'm saying is, the problem is that the mind sends the signal of danger. The body believes the mind. We're being activated. Now this activation is stress. And stress, we know, causes all the other problems.
Right.
So what we do, we cannot tell the mind, stop sending the signal. We can't, because the mind is not listening to us.
Okay.
So we cannot train the mind. That's a very important thing to understand. We say, I worry, so stop worrying. No, I can't stop worrying.
Okay.
I can't stop worrying. It's not up to me. It worries me thin.
All right. So what do we do?
Let it do its thing. First of all, don't fight it.
Yes.
That's the first thing.
Yes.
Now, the smart thing to do, and it's amazingly effective, is flood the system with sensual information.
Okay.
So what you do, you just don't pay attention to the mind. Let it keep showing the disasters and the worries and whatever the mind does. Let it do its things. But balance, give more information to the body.
Breath.
So just, smell.
Senses.
So when you smell, whether you understand it or not, it doesn't matter. You send information. I smell no danger. Listen. I hear no danger. Look carefully. Now, when you look, do something beside looking. So if you take like a minute
Okay.
and go sense by sense and give like, let's say 20 seconds,
Wow.
30 seconds to each sense, and you're fully there. But when you look, do one more thing,
Okay.
which is turn your head from side to side. So you're not just looking, you're scanning.
Mm-hmm.
So even that movement of the head, that primitive system understands what you're doing. You don't have to understand it even.
Mm-hmm.
Just move your neck from side to side. Look, a lot of information. I see no danger. I scan the horizons. There's no danger. Hear no danger. Smell no danger. Taste no danger. My feet cannot feel any tremble. There's no danger through the senses.
That's really interesting.
So what you do, you flood the system with information.
Sensory. Yeah.
Information. So that's one thing that is extremely effective and very simple.
And it's real information. It's being in the present moment. Where we are
Exactly.
right now in this studio, I see lights. I
exactly.
feel air conditioning.
I see no
I'm
danger.
touching there's So that's something that really anyone can do.
Anyone can do
Yeah.
in any place.
Very, very interesting.
It's better to stand for a minute, even if you take your shoes off and then you feel the earth.
There's a
and
whole
you look through the window and you move your head. And then let the mind do its thing. Don't fight it. It's futile. But you take the power of it by diluting. With the sensory information, you're diluting
That's
the impression
really
of the mind.
interesting. It's really interesting.
Very effective, very easy to do. Amazing trick. The other thing is the breath. So that's the second thing.
Okay.
What you do with the breath is you, first of all, you breathe through your mouth, through your nose,
Yes.
but you exhale through the mouth.
Okay.
And what you try and do is a whisper. And that's a trick actually to slow the exhale.
Okay.
So you take a deep breath.
We'll do it together?
Okay, we do it together.
Okay.
And now you clench your teeth, and then you just
Calming.
there's no way that there's danger if you breathe like that. The system understands you cannot breathe like that and tell your survival mechanism that you're in danger, because it's the opposite signal. When you're in danger, it's
Right.
you give a very clear indication that there's no danger whatsoever by having a very long exhale. So actually, I think we need to evolve and to these understandings.
Wow. That's a very different perspective and a lot to process. Thank you. I'd like to end, if you wouldn't mind, if you could give us a few minutes of guided meditation for the people that are listening now, to try to take these concepts and make them relevant and relatable to their daily lives. They're how to be your own dreamer, how to be the hero of your own story in your own life.
Okay. So it'll take a few minutes.
Okay.
So, okay. My style of meditation is very strict. So I will explain what each one that wants to practice the type of meditation has to do. So the most important thing, and this is like maybe the one thing that you have to know in this meditation, that you have to do nothing. Just do nothing. These instructions are very, very precise. Please listen to the instruction. The instructions are, you don't need to follow any instruction whatsoever. There's nothing you need to do. So now, having said that, doing nothing, you just do nothing. So you don't have to try and control anything whatsoever. Okay? I'm sitting right now in a chair, and when I meditate, I'd like to sit on the floor. So by sitting on the floor, and when I say the floor, for me the floor will represent earth. And even though I'm sitting on a, like on tiled floor, I will put a rug and maybe a cushion, because there's no need to suffer. It just be. So first of all, align yourself in a sitting position, either on a chair or on the floor, and you feel comfortable. So if you sit on the floor, and you need a cushion behind your back and maybe a cushion under each thigh, just arrange. And when you're ready, the instructions arrive. And the instructions are very clear. Do absolutely nothing. Okay, so that's a bit tricky. Okay, because you do nothing. If you do nothing, for example, you don't move. Because if you move, you are moving. And the instruction is don't do anything. So don't move. So what happens if you don't move? If you don't move, you want to move. But we said do nothing. So don't move. The only thing that you can do when you do nothing is just be curious. And that's a huge learning that you can learn just by observing that simple instruction, don't do anything. When you don't do anything, suddenly you want to do things. For example, it's really scratching, on your cheek. There's that like vibration, almost like electricity, and you're dying to move your hand and scratch your cheek. But the instructions are very clear, do nothing. So now you're stuck with that itch, and all you can do is develop curiosity and look at it. Is it quivering? You feel like kind of like almost like an electric charge. Is it hot? And incredibly, the moment you look with curiosity and you don't fight it, that itch will naturally dissipate and disappear. And the same, do not control your thoughts. You're not thinking. Have this clear realization that you are not thinking. Because if you were thinking, you could have stopped thinking, because it's you that thinks, then you can stop thinking. The facts are that you cannot stop thinking. Hence, it's not you that are thinking, that is thinking. So, when you realize that, don't care. This is not my thoughts. Those are just thoughts. So don't give attention to them. Let them think themselves thin. Now what about the breath? Well, that's not a problem. The instructions are don't do anything, but you're not breathing. Just like the thoughts. If you think that you're breathing, let's see you not breathing. You cannot not breathe. Your heart cannot stop beating, and your mind cannot stop thinking. This has nothing to do with you. It's not you thinking. It's not you breathing. So just observe with curiosity. Observe the thought, let it pass. Observe the breath. Now if we touch the breath and we observe the breath, it's actually quite fascinating. It's fascinating because you can be very particular about your breath. And you'll see that after an exhale, there's an inhale. And you don't do anything. It happens alone. It breathes you, and it's so beautiful. And just follow your breath through your nostrils, into the lungs, the cavities of the stomach and the chest, and the breath naturally through the nose. And if you pay attention, the inhale and exhale have different temperature. After the air goes through you, you exhale it with certain warmth. Just pay attention with curiosity and do absolutely nothing. Do nothing, do not avoid anything, do not do anything. Just sit and observe phenomena. And let me finish this short meditation with a quote. This is very relevant for me for meditation. That quote is by the great, great, great Viktor Frankl, that said, "The gap between a stimuli and response is called life." The gap between a stimuli and response is called life. So in this meditation, we train ourselves to have stimuli, but have no response whatsoever. Hence, this is meditation where we live. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Yossi. Thank you. Wow. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you again to the Arison Group's Essence of Life Radio for hosting us. Thank you from deep, deep in our hearts for sharing your wisdom and your insights with us. Be sure to follow us for more inspiring and uplifting content on Goodnet.org. Find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Together, let's continue to do good and spread positivity.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Debbie.
You are listening to The Goodnet Effect, Echoes of Inspiration, a podcast by Goodnet, a part of the Arison Group.